everyone, my name is Mark Kelly. Welcome to the Northland Artists Conversation, here on however you consume your podcast. Thanks very much for checking us out. I'm your host and your MC. I am the guy that sits down and just enjoys talking with people. It's great. So interestingly enough, this is week 4 of our podcast series for New Zealand Music Month, the 25th anniversary. May is the month that in the year 2000 the government decided, you know what? New Zealand Music Month needs to be a thing. Let's get some more New Zealand musicians on the radio and on TV, and we'll help it. And they also ended up doing things like supporting gigs as well, so that way for the month of May bands could go out and they could do their thing, and it was really cool support. As someone who was a musician during 2000 to 25, that benefit and support was absolutely amazing. So thank you very much. Flicking to my camera now, and editor Lee J, can you just put a little touch up on here, give me a little glow up. I'll give you a blue steel or a magnum if you require. Ready? There we go. Thank you. As I said, this is week number 4, and we've gone through and we've had some really cool sort of clips and snippets of other podcasts we've had along the way. So this week is no exception. So we've got Hemi Ruka, super talented DJ, still out in Northland and just kicking a lot of ass. But he's also teaching as well, which is amazingly cool. We've got Mickey Nogher. Sorry, Mickey, if I butchered your last name, I apologise in advance. Mickey is the wonderful partner of Maggie Coco. Mickey, in his own right and respective, is also an incredibly talented musician. And it was super cool to have him come in. It was kind of a bit of a last-minute thing. But super cool. Great to sit down and have a chat with him. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. We've then got our first record label, that being Street Made Records. And that was led by James. Now, James has been in the region now for quite some time. Unfortunately, James has had to make a decision to leave Northland. We wish him all the best. It was him and the whole crew at Street Made were just amazingly cool and really talented guys. We had them play at the Northland Artists Conversation 2-year anniversary. Man, they killed it too. It was really good. It was good to see the numbers in the because we did a live stream spike. So that was amazing. And our last one is electronic producer Tama Hemara. Also goes by the name Innusta. Now, Tama had been in Whangarei for the longest time, and he was sort of building up a bit of a reputation. He was heading off down to Auckland quite a lot. Well, I understand that he is now in Australia, but it was great to catch him as he was sort of getting his name and reputation out there. Solid dude, very cool. So I tell you what, let's sit down and enjoy week 4 of the 25th anniversary celebration of New Zealand Music Month, featuring the wonderful artists here in Northland. Take me through your first school dance. What's your set looking like? Who are you playing?
I think it was terrible, man.
Oh, yeah.
Look back,
Look, I think if we're all honest, we all start off shit, and then we get better over time. I cringe looking at my first podcast because I was like, man, a lot of things have changed since then. Producer Andrew's nodding his head, agreeing with me. Shut up. I was always amazing. It always came out perfect.
There's a saying in the startup community, if you're not embarrassed of your first product, you're launching too late.
Yeah.
Kudos, bro.
Yeah, thank you. I feel, that I look back on that first podcast and I struggle to think who was more nervous, the guest or myself. And, as the host, it's your job to make your guests feel comfortable. When you're sitting there going, you look like a bit of an idiot. So when was your first DJing gig? 19...
Yeah, 1992, something like that.
Okay,
Yeah, it would have been about
so
14 or 15 years old.
What was popular back then?
UB40, Paul Abdul, CNC Music Factory.
Oh, yes.
And actually, there was
Hammer?
really segregated sectors. Yeah, Hammer was around then.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses.
Yes.
Nirvana was just coming in then.
That's right, yeah. It 93 or 94?
Chili Peppers.
You had Nevermind, Blood Sugar Sex Magic,
Yeah, man.
Pearl Jam's 10,
Yep.
Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
Yeah, those were the big ones.
That's a big
Terminator 2 came out there. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2,
great.
yeah. You Could Be Mine, Guns N' Roses. Man,
Yeah.
I remember watching that go, I have to see this movie.
It still holds the test time, man.
It does.
It's the greatest.
It does. It does. So you're mixing up all of these different genres, kind of not knowing really what you're doing. You're going, this song will be cool after this song.
I think it's more of an extension of just like we actually took a stereo with us everywhere we went in those days.
Okay.
And we just played music all the time, and we didn't really care if the other kids don't like it.
Yeah.
And we still had the most music, so we won by default.
Yeah.
And then I started to kind of appreciate that you had to play to everybody else and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got paid a few years later that I started to really double down on that. And,
Okay.
And now that's the bread and butter of the sector, and I do weddings and clubs and things like that now, and everything's really, really different, and it's really about reading the crowd. But
Yeah.
as a young person, it's more about young people are really connected to one another.
Yes.
Whereas nowadays, and I think music connects people. So if you go to a wedding and everyone's over 50, then you know what's going to connect them. It's going to be Fleetwood Mac or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Doobie Brothers,
yeah.
Eagles.
Yeah, so it's really easy
Yeah.
once you're experienced to read that genre, and once you've got one, you're in.
Yeah.
Whereas we were actually into sort of the passion of music back then.
Yeah. Okay.
And I got into dancing, and we would choreograph dances, and we got somebody rang us one day and said, hey, can you bring your dance troupe to this event? And we said, sure. And
You
we
had a troupe.
Yeah, it was the hobby. Some kids played rugby.
Yeah.
We choreographed dances.
Dude, that's so cool.
It was cool. It was cool enough that somebody rang us and said, we've got this artist, and he's recording a song, and we want to put you guys in the music video. And when we turned up there, they put us on the 13th story of a building on a helicopter pad. And with helicopter pads don't have any sides on the building.
No.
So
High chance of death.
Yeah, no protection for a 14-year-old kid.
Oh shit, you're that young.
Yeah, there's
wow.
there's probably like 5 or 6 of us on this building with cameras and whatnot. And
this was in Papua New Guinea as well. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we didn't like the song the guy was singing, so
Okay.
we turned it off and put our own music on, danced to our own music, and they filmed that and put it into the background of his video. That was like the state of affairs in that time.
Because I imagine it would as long as it matched.
Yeah, somebody in editing synced it up.
Yeah, I know. Editors are amazing. I never take editors for granted at all.
And those things were a mystery in those times because it was so expensive.
Oh yeah, my God, because you're shooting on film.
Yeah,
it's not cheap. It's not like, all right, take 64. Here we go.
And they didn't have a music video show in Papua New Guinea at that time.
Oh wow!
So they played music videos that were popular as adverts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the song went to #1 in the Papua New Guinea charts at the time when Michael Jackson was like selling the world over.
Yeah,
so we were outselling Michael Jackson at that time.
That's the dangerous period, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the black and white.
Yeah, man. Wow, and far out. Okay, so instead of commercials for Skippy Cornflakes and Wheat Bix, it'd be like, here's Michael Jackson's Black and White, and here's...
Well, it would be the local songs. So if you so on the weekend, if you were watching a league game or something like that, you might see that video 4 or 5 times.
Oh wow!
And so everybody knew we were.
So you
on those music videos.
Quite young, you get a little bit of minor celebrity going on.
Oh man, we couldn't.
That guy.
We couldn't walk down the street.
What?
Kids would follow us down the street and sing the song. And because the song, so I think it was the highest selling song in Papua New Guinea at the time. And the artist went on to be the first Papua New Guinean artist to tour outside of Papua New Guinea.
Oh wow!
And they put us on the album cover as the background dancers, and they named our group. And so it was kind of like being New Kids on the Block or something like that.
Yes, very much so.
And then the second album we did like 5 more videos, and
wow,
they all kind of were very popular. And then I my parent, believe it or not, in Papua New Guinea, it's so isolated. My parents started this community called the Kiwi Club.
Okay. Yep.
There's a lot of Kiwis up there.
Yeah, all the expats. Yeah.
And they brought together this community once a year for a ball, and it was about $200 a ticket. And they brought, which was, in the 90s was like $700 or something now.
That's $1,000 ticket.
And they brought over, the first one they brought Howard Morrison.
Okay, yeah.
Who's got I think a Queen's medal. Then they brought John Rawls, the second one.
Oh, wow.
And then the third one they brought Annie Crummer in the 90s, which she had #1 songs in New Zealand as well.
That would have been... 90s. She would have come out of Netherworld Dancing Toys at that moment, and it would have been around that era of when the cat's been spayed.
Cat's Away.
Cat's Away. Oh, sorry, my bad. That was the the knockoff band afterwards.
Brutal.
Yeah. Oops.
Death metal's.
Sorry, Ms. Crummer.
Owns you.
Death metal has afflicted my memory, my recall at times. I apologise in advance. When the cat's away.
So we were around kind of creatives and performers and musicians. Yeah. I idolized them, and I idolized people that could mix music.
Yeah.
And create something out of something you're familiar with, and scratch on it and mix it with something else. I just couldn't comprehend how they're doing that.
Yeah.
And those performers could read the energy from us as kids that were performing as well.
Yeah.
And they asked me to dance, and I ended up dancing at one of those concerts.
Wow.
In front of, like people that had paid a lot of money in black and white ties and things.
Yeah.
And that was when my parents got on board, and they were like, we think you're going to be your career. We want to send you to, a dance school and all that kind of stuff.
So you actually really went for it?
Yeah, because I choreographed, I had to make all that stuff up on the spot and perform it in front of heaps of people. So I was pretty confident in those days of what I thought was entertaining.
So you were essentially not only a dancer, you're a lead dancer, you're the choreographer.
Yeah, keenest.
Yeah, most enthusiastic.
Yes.
Far out.
Yeah. And then we came home to New Zealand, which you did every year from Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
To kind of have a break.
Yeah.
And I crashed a car into a tree very fast.
Wow. Okay. And, was that from the massive royalties that you'd earned?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. It was really, wasn't it? Of course it was.
I framed. They gave me money after that because I was with John Rawls. John Rawls hung out with Elvis Presley.
John Rawls. He was the man. Absolutely.
So we framed the money that he gave me.
Yeah.
But I didn't spend it on a car.
Okay.
But it was my first time driving a car, and I woke up in hospital. Short story.
Wow.
Hospital, broken knee, broken leg, broken sternum.
Shit.
So that was the end of that idea.
Yeah.
Dancer, and now I'm a DJ, man.
Yeah, well, but it's interesting, like, because you've gone from being what? Yeah. So what I was going to say is you've gone from being in the front, being the show pony, if you will.
Yes.
All eyes are on you. And I was going to say to being in the background, but DJs nowadays aren't in the background. You look at the DJ like David Guetta, Pitbull, all of those sorts of guys that are actually, they are the star.
Yeah, I think that there's still, the most successful DJs currently are all producers.
Yes. I think it's having that combination, that ability to get out and do it, but also produce and create music as well.
Well, I think the accessibility of music today, it's free. Equipment's free. It's so much cheaper. The barrier for entry is lower.
Yeah.
So if you can read a crowd and play music to a crowd, then you're a DJ. But a producer can understand music structure, and I think that's what sets apart a really great DJ from, like, I don't know if I'd call that a DJ, because a DJ is somebody that plays music to the crowd, whereas a performer is someone plays, the crowd goes to see their music.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but in terms of what you're saying, that performance element, I think as I got older, I shied away from that a little bit more, and also, when I went to Dunedin, having said that, I went to Dunedin with my girlfriend at the time for university.
Yeah.
And you had to be 21 to drink in pubs back then.
Yes.
So we used to go to the pub at like 4 p.m. when there was no security on, and order some chips
Yeah.
So that you could get in before the security came on 5 hours later, and you were already inside the venue, right?
Yeah.
And you could stay there for the rest of the night and get in and nominate someone who looked the oldest to go and buy the beers at the bar all the time.
Yeah.
And I was still in that mindset of like trying to dance. And I remember going up when the DJ came on, and they were trying to play like Oasis and real good garden bar background music.
Yep.
And I was like, play this dance song, play this, And he said, if I play it, you got to dance, because I look like an idiot. No one here wants to dance except for you.
Yeah.
So he played it, and I danced, and some other guy got up, and this was back in the day when people would dance, and this guy got up and started kind of dancing, kind of with me against me.
Yeah.
And we kind of kept stepping it up in like a challenge, and I ended up doing a forward flip on the dance floor. And this guy came up to me afterwards and said, "Hey man, you want a job?" And I said, "Doing what?" And he said, "DJing in here." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And he said, "Come in on the weekend, play some songs." And that was it. So my first DJing job was at a real rugby pub in Dunedin that fitted about 800 people a night into it. And you're in the deep end straight away, trying to figure out, oh my God, what are these people that are 3 or 4 or 5 years older than me want to hear? And I was played every Friday and Saturday for the next couple of years, and became a full-time DJ. And dancing just fell by the wayside. It just never, it fell out of vogue. Like it went from being like the hammer kind of thing in the front, Vanilla Icy type stuff, to the background dancers, you had to be a singer dancer in the sort of pop bands like Backstreet Boys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the kind of Spice Girls came along where they were just popular, but they couldn't really dance.
Yeah.
And then it just ended. And here we are. I got into house music in the late 90s.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
Like 97.
Yeah.
And started, just reading about clubs in the UK and things like that. Couldn't believe it.
It's such a big scene over there.
It was phenomenal, and we were actually pushing the boundaries here in New Zealand. I remember playing 4 to the floor music, doof doof doof, and people was like, "What is this?" They were like, "This is not," It was, and I felt like, in hindsight, it was like people who played rock and roll were playing that music, in the 50s or something like that. And whereas now it's like. And I think that probably happens in every era,
Oh, yeah. I seem to meme to producer Andrew today, which was kids that listen to 90s hip-hop and they have big brain, and then it's in the meme is kids that listen to modern hip-hop, and it's like some dude that's got like a slouched face. He's putting a round thing in a triangular hole. He's like, and it was just like, okay, yeah, look, I'm sure I've been that person, but a few years ago, where you just get a little bit elitist about things like, what's that shit? That's not real music.
Yeah. I think that's a really tough trap. As an older statesman in the scene, if you went back into the death metal scene now, you would have so much to say about stuff, and
I would, which is why I'm not.
And
I'm an opinionated old man.
The only reason I'm probably DJing is I don't have any children.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I'm finding that I can't get to sleep on a Saturday night till 6 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday.
Wow, yeah.
And that sleep pattern's gone for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then it, try to reset it for day job type work, and and then you're back in the scene again on the weekend. It's kind of,
because I mean you've been doing that for a while, because you have the day job that pays the bills, that affords you the luxury to be able to go out and do the weekend job.
It was that way up until about this year. And
just this year?
Yeah. Then it was
like
the DJing's paying for everything at the moment.
Congratulations, man! That's so cool.
Thank you. I had to sell my soul a bit. I do weddings and things like that now. But what I've found is
pays the bills.
Yeah, it's not just that. The mindset of getting into helping other people enjoy themselves. Yeah, you have to really put yourself aside. Yeah, and I find that there's 2 ways to do that. One is just voyeur and just watch it. Yeah, and the other part is to get in on the act. Right. Yeah. And that's the most fun. I did the Northern Club last weekend. Okay. That's over 70s. It's the only venue I've been in the last month where I'm not the oldest person in the venue. I'm the youngest person in the venue. Wow. And the big hits are like 50s and 60s songs. And when you play them, people are rock and rolling. And
It's so cool,
and
though.
it's yeah, it is. Watching people go, oh my god, I know, it's like
they come alive.
they do, and you're really giving somebody something.
Yeah, and you're bringing all
you
that
can't be selfish
nostalgia
about
back.
that. Yeah,
No, because you'd be like, man, screw all that rock shit.
So I think DJing's really in that capacity. It's about joy.
Yeah,
and providing other people joy.
It's really about service as well, isn't it? Because
Sure.
you're of service to the audience.
I think that part's obvious because you've got to turn up and be like, hello, you're doing all the service stuff that you do in other industries.
Yeah.
But the joy part is a little bit because that's your job.
Yeah.
If you get that wrong, people just go with it, but it's not a great event. And it's really easy to have the wrong energy. You're too tired, or you're just not in the pocket, as they say.
Yeah.
And if you stuff that up, it's.
Have you ever had those shows?
I think I'd be lying if I said I hadn't.
Yeah.
And I think that they're part of the pick yourself up, dust yourself off stuff.
Yeah.
And get back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And I think that I'd have to say that the more often you play. Mm-hmm. Like if you play every Friday, Saturday night, or every week, it's easier. Yeah. If you're playing every second week and it's a different crowd, then you don't play to that. If you're playing EDM this week and then you're playing hip hop next week and then you're playing 50s the week after. Yeah. You're not practicing that stuff all the time. Yeah, because it's harder. Yeah, I imagine like playing guitar or riding a bike. It's a skill that you need to keep exercised. Yeah, I think if you were freestyling something as a guitarist. So you're sitting there, me and you are having a jam, and I'm like, oh, can you play 660? And you're like, yeah, man, that's great. We're trying to find that bond that connects us so that we can be creative together. Absolutely. But that freestyling element where it moves from something to something to something so that we get a creative jam going on. Yep. And we're both passionate about that. That's what the driver that has to be there. Otherwise, one person, and then you've got all the technical elements that bring a production together. Yeah. And sometimes performers are not cognizant of all those things. Yeah. I did a show the other weekend I went to, it was with, but some of those elements were not tight in the production, so some of the sound's not great, or people are not cognizant enough. They're focused really minutely on a particular aspect that they're great at. And one of the big overarching sort of things that has been a bit of a common theme with creatives is they understand the creative side, but the business side can often fall behind as well. It's tough, man. Yeah, because it's creativity meets commerce. Yeah, and they don't really go together, but they have to. Yeah, I think that I mentioned off camera earlier that one of my one of my jobs in the last couple of years was a facilitator for a business startup program. Yes, yeah. And so in that model, we'd come into a community for 10 days, and day one would be like, what's your idea and what's stopping you from having a crack at it? Right. And by day 3, you've built a website for it, and the following week you've sold something. Yeah. So you've got to get people to an event that will buy something. So you've figured out how to price it, pitch it, sell it. Yeah. And by the end of the week, you can describe it in an elevator pitch. And teaching other people how to, there's a saying, I think it's something like, those that can do and those that can't teach. Those that can't do, teach. Yeah. It's so much easier to guide somebody else. And particularly I've found as an artist, a lot of business people around me are like, you should be doing this, you could be doing this. Yeah. But it's really quite difficult to do it as the artist and the seller or the business manager. Yeah. Those elements are kind of, you've got to walk a balance, because essentially, and I guess this is kind of how I've sort of viewed things in the last, 15 years, is you are a brand. Much like the podcast itself is a brand, and because I am the host, I am a representative of the brand. Yeah. You are essentially, DJ Hemi Ruka? Yeah, that's part of the trick is trying to figure out who you are on the journey, I think. Yeah. That's something I was intentional about using my Māori name because I don't come across visually as Māori. So I wanted to project that. Yep. And I'm not sure that's for the, in the DJ sector, I'm not sure that it really matters. I'm not playing Māori music. I do play to a lot of Māori audiences. I don't know if it's relevant. What the hell is a Skrillex? Well, yeah, I think it was a hangover from having to reconnect with my Māori culture, with not just for myself, but with all the people that I was already connected to.
Okay.
So there was a long period, and I think that's a journey that for myself as a creative, is like a spectre in my life, so to speak. It dribbles into every part of my life. It's constantly sort of like a banging on the door of responsibility. And then as a creative or dynamic, in your thinking, you're trying to go, well, okay, if I've got to have to do these things to be who I am, or to help my family or something like that, how do I incorporate them into my creative endeavors? Or how do I make these more fun or more useful, or not a side hobby, or more relevant or more engaging, or all those kind of things.
So with the photography side of things, and you've recently had a bit of an exhibition, is that right?
No.
No.
No. What sort of made me go, okay, I better start maybe taking this a bit more seriously. Was last year we were down for the Nelson Fringe, and so that was part of the Elodie tour, which is like the second album. So we were doing like the development tour for that, and we got to work with this amazing textile artist on there called Stefania Naldi. And,
oh wow!
So Stefania, she was basic. So the premise for Maggie's show. So basically, she will play music, sing the songs, but the artist will be creating their art, but with an audience interaction in response to the content of the lyrics. So basically what Steph was doing was she was in a nude suit, and she was creating a dress in real time.
Oh wow!
On stage. So you're talking like about 45-minute set. And so she had this like she'd done a lot of prep for it, and she was like super onto it, and she had like all of these like strips of material, and she like was writing down thoughts and lines from the lyrics and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then she was like wrapping them around herself, and then the audience were like bringing stuff up and putting it in the jar, like bits of paper into jars. She was using the audience prompts into what was going into the dress and those things, and then she actually created this amazing necklace from all she created like this amazing necklace from all of the bits of paper from the audience on the neck, and then like pulled together this like headdress and all in the space of time. But it was like a very punk aesthetic as well, just because it was like all knotted, and then like with safety pins tied together, and so whenever we were down, and Maggie was playing 3 shows at that Nelson Fringe, and there was supposed to be an official photographer coming, and so Steph was excited about that because she'd said, I'd like to enter this for the Changing Threads, which is the National Contemporary Textile Awards.
Okay, yep.
Right? So it's a big deal, and it's held in Nelson, because Nelson's this amazing creative, man. Like that's where World of Wearable Arts and isn't all of that stuff a lot of that stuff.
The jeweler down there, Hans Jensen, made the One Ring for Lord of the Rings.
So Nelson has this, even though it's smaller than Fugger, it's got this amazing big arts infrastructure. And so she was excited about the photographer coming, because she was going, I'll be able to use those and maybe use this as an entry for that competition. And the photographer ended up coming to one of the other shows, and so I just went, so I just went, I'm gonna take as many of these. I'll just take.
Someone's got to do it.
I'll just take photos just with my phone. And I managed to take like some pretty cool ones for Steph. And then basically after the show and stuff, Steph contacted Maggie to see about working on a proposal to enter it as a multimedia collaboration, and it was accepted as one of 30 finalists. Yeah, so it was like,
wow, man.
And then I was like, okay, my photography's in an art gallery, there's wine and cheese, I guess that makes me an artist. I was like, there's wine and cheese involved here.
Yeah. Wine and cheese makes it all legitimate, right?
But there's like serious, like amazing stuff going on. Like lots of like big, like heavy hitters in that medium, at a national level. And we were given this section of the gallery, and it was really cool because we had like a loop of the music playing, and then Maggie's lyrics superimposed over the photography, and then the actual dress and some of the materials from the process and stuff there. So that was I'm like, okay, yep, that's my photography's art. It's in an art gallery then, but I haven't had a proper exhibition, but I reckon I could put one together. Just off like lots of the performers and gigs that I've been to. Just capturing like some pretty cool stuff.
Like you could almost put like a little photo book together, right? Life on the road.
Yeah.
As a support human.
Yeah. The roadie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
But I mean that's really cool. Considering as you said, you just kind of fell into it. Almost out of necessity, right?
Yep.
Because Maggie didn't have anything. She's touring enough where she needs someone that can do it. You were like, well, okay, might as well be me.
Yeah.
With the shared life experiences that you guys have had, and essentially, I'm guessing it's a bit of a mentor-mentee relationship.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. I guess you can say that, yeah.
Yeah. Where is Street Made Records at currently?
Could you be a bit more specific?
Sure. So the label's been going for around a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You've and kind of invested money into it where you can.
Yes.
And you've got some gear, you're up and running, and you're releasing stuff. So that, I guess that would be where the label is at the moment. It's kind of in the foundation building stage.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So from the label owner's perspective, is this when you first started the label, is this where you saw yourself being, or did you see yourself being somewhere else?
Well, in a way, I didn't really expect much from it, to be honest. Yeah, so, I guess where we are at now, kind of looked at it like, kind of straightforward, I suppose. And yeah. I mean, we are trying to do more, trying to do a lot more things.
Such as?
Like just getting out there in public and do some like live events and that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we done about 4 shows last year.
Yeah, cool.
Our first one was Maritime Festival here in Whangarei. Town Basin, sorry.
Maritime
Festival.
When was Maritime Festival.
Maritime, sorry.
When was that? That was that start of last year?
Yeah.
Or the middle?
I think it was the middle, sorry, yeah. That was a while ago now. So.
Yeah. I know, time flies when you're old. Okay, so I'm very curious to know, how did the first performance go?
Yeah, it went well, actually. It was me and one of the other artists on board the label.
Yep.
Which was there. High Speed wasn't around at the time. But they went okay, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we did set a certain impression.
Cool.
Yeah, so...
And have you... And you said you've done 4 gigs. Have you actually been on stage and performed?
Yep.
How'd you find it?
That's pretty good.
It's a huge adrenaline rush, eh?
Yeah.
Especially when
it's different when you got a whole lot of people in front of you.
Yeah.
But then it's an adrenaline rush, because everyone's watching you and they're going to be watching you whatever you do.
Paranoia kicks in for you.
It happened a few times.
Yeah. You're like, am I going to make myself look like a dick?
Yeah.
And then eventually you reach the point where you go, don't care.
That's it.
I'm going to feel it whatever way it comes out. And it's going to be awesome. And people are going to vibe on it or not. Yeah. No, that's cool, man. That's cool. And so how many shows have you guys actually done so far?
So this only just 4.
Just the 4?
You've got one more coming up this month. But just recently only 4. So Maritime,
AMP.
AMP Showgrounds. We're doing a bit there on stage.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're
cool,
on
man.
there. And there was one...
Voice of the Streets.
That was based in Kawakoa. At the RSA.
I was going to say, I think I remember seeing that event. Yeah. Nice.
Run by Cap Z.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Without Limits, I believe. The little organisation they got going up there. Yeah. And just recently, I myself, because the team wasn't available, just went to Waihi.
Oh, wow.
Secret Garden, Waihi, a little bar there. So, that was our last performance from last year.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how many performances have you had?
I've only done 1.
Yeah.
Just the one.
Just the one.
We're going to jump on the other one.
Get another one under the belt.
Oh,
yeah.
Get half a dozen, you'll be confident as.
Oh, definitely.
Just kill it. Okay, so that's, I mean, it's always really interesting because, you know, I've done music for a number of years and, you know, performing and being on stage. So for me, this is actually really cool to see artists that haven't been doing it for as long as I have and therefore not as cynical.
Yeah.
Because you do get cynical after a wee while. Producer Andrew nods his head. When you're in the studio and you're recording, are you writing for yourself? Are you writing for, you know, if the song's structured this way, it's going to have this type of crowd reaction? You know, who are you actually producing music for, apart from yourselves? Because every artist should create for themselves, right?
Yeah. So our writing process is pretty much straightforward. I just get the team to try and come up with singles or whatever they can at the time. And then we see whether one of us could feature on each track.
Okay.
Yeah, and we pretty much just go with the flow, really.
So a lot of cross-pollination type stuff?
Yeah,
Whereas like you might do a main track and then feature one of the other artists on the label as well?
Yeah.
Man, that's really cool, because that way you kind of, you know, everyone's helping everyone up, right?
Yeah,
everyone gets lifted up all at once.
I mean, it's not really like Bone Thugs, how they were kind of writing each other's words in a way, and kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we pretty much just kind of write our own thing and then see where we can go with it in the end.
Nice. Is there anything that you guys are currently working on at the moment?
Yep.
Oh yeah, we got a head on.
Oh,
Yeah, we've got an exclusive track.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, we've got an exclusive track in the works. Just met with this guy, or not met with him, but I was talking with this producer from New Zealand.
Yeah.
He's currently staying in France, somewhere in France.
In France?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's trying to network there. We've got a beat off him.
Yep.
Exclusive beat, so yeah, got exclusive tracks in the works. So I think my team's got a few singles as well coming up.
Nice.
Yeah, we're trying to get music videos going in between it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not cheap.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah.
Well, it could be.
I've touched base with a few like other local videographers here, like JO Films, and I believe I'm not too sure if you're familiar with him, Maru Henari.
Yes.
Yeah, I touched base with him. Our fees are quite hefty, but obviously it's worth the time and quality they have, I suppose. Yeah.
And you know that's very true. You often you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so we've talked about the label, and we've talked about your guys' background, and we've talked about some of your influences. If we talk about you guys as actual individual artists now, because you know, something I'm always very fascinated in.
Yeah.
If you're, and I'm going to direct this first question to you, mainly because this is still very new, right?
Yeah.
So, having found this as a new love and passion and what you want to do, where do you see yourself taking it? How far do you see you going with this? And I know that the easy answer is as far as possible, but I'm looking for a real answer.
Can you be more defined about that?
Yes, I can. Great question. So, within your first year of being able to call yourself an artist, producing material, getting up on stage and performing, right?
Yeah.
Are you, in your head, are you going, okay, cool, so I can quite happily do this and that's it? Or do you go, cool, I want to do a music video, I want to put out an EP, I want to get on an a national tour, I want to open for someone, I want to open for someone international, I want to go to Australia? Where do you see yourself going? Because when I was in my band, I had a whole bunch of little check boxes that I wanted to do. I wanted to record an album, I wanted to shoot a music video, I wanted to play at the power station, I wanted to do international, I wanted to be an opening band for an international artist. Right, so I went tick, 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 tick. And then the next one for me was Australia. We all shit the bed and broke up. Good stuff. A classic band. So for you as a new artist, where do you see yourself going?
Well, I'm not going to stop making music until... Well, I'm talking here, people start yelling out my song themselves, eh?
Nice. So even when you get to a stage where you can walk on stage and just stand there and go...
Yeah.
To be honest, I actually just recently watched something, and one of my brothers actually just put this up there. And I was, and I was watching it.
Okay, what is it?
He was it was Central C. He was going hard.
Yeah.
And he had his mic out there and everyone singing the song.
Yes.
And I found that inspiring as.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, I only had it maybe 3 times out of that whole 7 years. There was only 3 occasions where I had that. And honestly, you get goosebumps. You walk off stage with the biggest ego in the world because you're like, everyone knows my shit. It's great.
Yeah, it's the best feeling, eh?
It is. So for you, there's never going to be...
Well, I'm never going to look at how far I can get it, eh? As soon as I can see people doing that, I know I'm on the right track.
Good. Cool.
I know I'm on the right track and I'm going to keep going.
Nice. And then I will ask the same question of yourself as the more established artist out of the two.
Yeah. Well,
what are your goals?
My goals is just to help. I guess that's why I've kind of started the label as well.
Yeah.
Just saying because there's a lot of unheard of talent here, especially from the streets and that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I guess see myself being in a position where I'm able to, mentor others.
Yeah.
And put them in the right direction, as well as doing my thing in the midst of it all. Yeah.
So you what I'm sort of sensing from you is you'll still do the artist side of the business, but yours is going to be sort of fostering and nurturing talent
in a way
to come through.
Yeah, pretty much.
Man, what do they call they A&R, artists and repertoire. That's what their job title used to be. Is you'd go out, you'd go to shows, you'd find new talent, you'd work with them, and then you'd kind of help bring them up and get them established, right? So for you kind of want to move a bit more behind the scenes.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I kind of do want to move behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. That's one of the things I've sort of done. I can't really say that anymore because I'm on camera interviewing artists. Or I can be behind the scenes and not be on camera anymore. And here we are. I'm the guy asking the questions. Go figure. Other than music, is there sort of any other avenues that you guys would like to look at as a business entity?
Whoa. No, we haven't really thought of it, to be honest. Yeah, we just kind of sticking with music and that for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's actually a good question. I might have to really have a good think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's one thing that we've sort of found doing this podcast is there's opportunities available if you are prepared to kind of think outside the box.
Yeah. Yep.
You can. You guys are in great situations because you've proven that you don't necessarily have to lead the, mum, dad, 2 kids, perfect house, go through high school, get good grades lifestyle. You can have a, should we say a challenging lifestyle?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
A challenging lifestyle. But you can always connect with music and with people and find a different way of doing things, right? And that is actually very inspiring, and that's definitely a message that we'll be certainly singing praises for, because it's not every day that you kind of meet young people, and I can say young because you're 20,
25,
you're 25,
23.
Yeah.
My birthday's actually in 2 days.
Hey, happy birthday. This podcast will come out after 2 days, so we'll retroactively say happy birthday. So I'm old enough to be your guys' dad. Right, so you young whippersnappers, as my dad used to say to me. And it's really cool that guys that are as young as you are actually wanting to have a positive influence in a community. Where nowadays it's so easy to be led astray or go down the wrong path because there's so many bad choices that can be made so quickly, and they can just have such a negative consequence. You can kind of continue down that path, and you have to go, this is a conscious choice I make to no longer go down that negative path, but to go down a path of positivity. So absolutely more power to you guys. As gigs come up and music, we'd love to have you back on.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
As well. If it's just one of you or both of you, we do a double.
I just hope next one is a bit more productive with the answers and things. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not expecting, Shakespeare.
Yeah.
You're not here to belt out a soliloquy. You're going on in great detail about this is the hardships of my life. You talk as much as you want. I do a lot of waffling, and that's okay. I'm comfortable waffling. It's your first time doing anything like this? Yeah. Your first?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So let's just chook it down to the fact that we met hour and 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And neither of you have done anything like this before.
And
it's just about being comfortable, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But I guarantee you guys, next time you're on, it'll be a lot easier. And it'll flow a lot more smoothly and you'll be totally comfortable with it. Which is great, and that's how it is. We always invite guests to come back if they've got something else that they want to celebrate or something else that they want to launch or talk about. Because it's always nice. You can kind of, we've had a couple of guests now that have been repeats that have come back on.
Okay, yep.
And it's always interesting finding out where they were when they first came on versus where they are now. Because some guests will have a complete 180, and they'll be, we were doing this at the time, and now suddenly they're doing... stick and poke tattoos, for example.
Yeah.
Or some of them are just like, I was doing this one thing and I've kind of ramped it up and it's on the next level now. So, you find out these really interesting things and where your journey creatively has taken you between podcasts.
Yeah.
So, that's cool, because we love hearing about people, learning about them, understanding where their journey is, what they've done. You've got now on you're the artist, you're the label, and you've got 2 other artists on the roster.
Yes.
And you yourself are one of those are additional artists. So you've got 4 in total.
Yeah, 4 in total. Yep.
Long term, how do you look for talent? This is a business question.
Yeah.
How do you look for talent? What are you looking for? And how do you go about getting that talent interested in what you're doing?
Well, I guess I just go on the net, really. Yeah, and just seek a lot of local talent from there. And then,
do you go to gigs and stuff like that?
Not at the moment, no.
I was going to say, can we speak honestly and say, are there many hip-hop events?
No, not up here specifically, eh?
Yeah.
I've realised it's mostly all down south. There's quite a lot down south popping off at the moment, yeah.
Yeah. We'll work on changing that, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good for everyone. There's a huge hip-hop community in Northland. It'd be nice to give them a bit of a space where they can kind of come in and, work some shit out and go from there.
I guess it's more of just the impressions at first sets, when you first hear like a hip-hop artist or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, as I said early on, I'm not... terribly up to date with hip hop. It was never really my genre.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why I sort of asked that question. Who would you consider yourselves to kind of sound like?
Yeah.
So that way, the common man, myself, who doesn't know much about it, can go, oh yeah, okay. Well, I've heard of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then you kind of know what you're in for, right? Whether it's going to be how many genres of hip-hop are there?
There's a few.
Producer Andrew leads out a big deep breath and then says a few.
It's a whole podcast.
We could do a podcast on each genre and then subgenre. 246 podcasts later.
It's a wicked one.
So where to from here for you guys?
Well, at the moment,
apart from the birthday boy.
Yeah, at the moment I kind of lay back with producing music. Just trying to help the team get their thing going.
Yeah. So you have taken on more of that management role.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm just trying to help us out a bit more.
Yeah. Cool.
Just trying to get us out there.
So you're kind of the label management promotion as well?
Yeah. Okay. For now. Yeah, until I'm ready to get back into writing more music and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, and have you got any material coming out?
Not like individually, like
yourself, the artist?
Yeah, nothing at the moment.
Okay.
It's more of a group thing.
So what's the label got coming out?
The label?
Yeah. Is there anything?
Not at the moment. Like it's all in the work.
More defined?
So, have you guys got any singles that are kind of, like each song will be like a different way through production, right? Like you might buy some beats and then you go, I like this beat, I'm going to work on this one. This one's pretty average. I might take a little bit longer writing something to this, and this one's no good, for example. So, each song will be at a different stage of production. Are there some that are kind of near completion? Or is it still kind of like that early stage?
Yeah, early stage, sort of work in progress at the moment. With what we got. Yeah.
So you've kind of... Okay, I'm going to ask this question.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to reference it again. As a metal musician, you often sit around and you, like as a band, and you kind of write riffs and ideas and you kind of bring them together as band practice and then you work songs out. How is it for hip-hop? Do you guys sit down and write your own beats, or is buying beats a thing?
Yeah, we buy beats at the moment.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more, I guess, we just hunt for certain instrumentals, and then whatever one sets an impression, we just pass it around.
Okay.
See how we can work with it. Yeah.
How does one find beats? Would you go to Google and then go beats.com?
Currently on YouTube at the moment.
Oh, YouTube?
Yeah, it's kind of the tailor for it at the moment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you hear something that you like, and then do you kind of reach out to that YouTuber or that artist and say, hey, look, I heard this beat. Is it for sale?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really?
So go into the online store and yeah.
And, okay, this leads into my next question. How much do beats cost?
Well, at the moment we're buying from international producers.
Right.
I'm still trying to source local producers at the moment that we can get beats off. So roughly around about just under $100, like $80 maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's like it's in American dollars, so which converts it.
So it's 80 American?
Yeah, roughly like that, depending on what license you're buying.
Right, so that's sort of around that 140, 160 mark, just depending on what the dollar does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that expensive for a beat? Or is that sort of mid-range, or...
Yeah, I would say it's mid-range, really.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you're buying an exclusive license, I suppose. Just recently, I invested into, like, as mentioned earlier, I was talking with this guy. He's from here in New Zealand.
Yes.
But he stays over...
He's in France at the moment.
Yep. So I bought an exclusive beat off of him, which cost about $400.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So I'm guessing finding local beat makers would be more
of our go-to,
like cost effective.
Yeah.
And better availability. Because you can, like, it's easier point of contact.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we have reached out to a few local producers here in New Zealand, but I guess it's more of just trying to have the right sound that we could work with in that. Yeah.
Because you want to keep you're looking for the certain sound that fits your style, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So you're not going to look for like smooth R&B when you want to put vocals about drug addiction. Oh, that's the first thing I could think of.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going, ooh, baby, I picked up the meth pipe last night. You're not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
It kind of doesn't work. You need beats that are going to match the vocal output.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. This is so fascinating for me because I've always wanted to dive on into it because, working with producer Andrew and him having OBC, we haven't really touched on a lot of this.
Oh, okay.
So it's this real eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
And it's where I always like to feel like out of every guest, I always learn something. And we've had some guests where I've asked some of the dumbest questions in the world. And I'll give you guys an example. So we had a lovely potter, and her name was Wendy Cunliffe. And she's a lovely lady. She had discovered pottery quite late in life, actually when she moved here from England. And she was telling me about the different types of clay that they use. And I was like, oh, yeah. What are some examples? And she goes, paper clay, and started rattling off a few more. And I was like, hey, can I just ask a second, what is paper clay? And she said, it's clay with paper in it. And I went, oh, yeah, okay. That makes sense. It's kind of in the name, right?
Yeah.
So I always try and take something out of each podcast. So it's fascinating how it works in the hip hop sense because you watch these movies like Straight Outta Compton, for example. Love that film. I think it's so well done. But you see Dre sitting there writing the beats and creating the samples and the drum loops and the keyboard melodies and all that sort of stuff. But and that works for them. But not all hip hop artists can do that, eh?
Yeah, I guess you can say it that way. Yeah,
just all the way you're trying to develop to it,
Yeah, I mean, is that something that you'd like to be able to do? Is write your own beats?
Like I myself, I can do a bit of beat making.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just never had the ability to adapt to them.
Right, okay.
Like, with writing and that. Yeah, so kind of took it elsewhere,
Yeah. And sometimes it's better just to outsource work, right?
Yeah.
Get someone else that can do it like really well and it be affordable.
Yeah.
You can go, is it one of those things where you can send an email saying, I like some of the work I've heard. Do you have a beat that's kind of like, and then a bit of a description, and then they go, actually, here's a beat I prepared earlier, and then kind of email it through, and you go, yes, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, pretty much starts from there, really, yeah.
Nice. Now, yours is a pretty cool story. You're a musician. You do...
electronic music production.
Okay.
Yep.
In genres, I say S because it might be plural.
So genres, my main genre is electronic R&B.
Right. Okay.
But I delve into more darker electronic stuff. There's a style called halftime, which is drum and bass. If you've heard of drum and bass,
I absolutely love drum and bass. Pendulum, a drum and bass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
love Pendulum.
Halftime is the sister of it, and it's basically just drum and bass, but half the speed.
Okay, right.
And it has a lot of hip hop influence in it.
Right.
So if you listen to it, it's very hip hop heavy, like real bass heavy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the style that I've like melded into.
Nice.
But then I got this other side of me where I fuse the two together.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I grab my R&B electronic, like softer influence side, and then I just pound it with the heavy bass stuff.
Right.
And that's where my recent singles have been going.
Cool.
In that direction.
When you said that there was another genre, I was expecting you to go, and for a surprise, I do K-pop. I'd have been like, that is really cool. Now, your mum's also a muso as well, and we were just talking about that, and I've heard her name.
Yeah.
Now, I'm guessing she's going to be one of the reasons you got into music and music production.
For sure.
What was it like growing up around that?
Oh yeah, so it was sick because I got to, I was real young and I was going to bars and stuff where she'd play, and because like more traditional music, like bands and cover bands and stuff, that was really in a few years ago when I was at that age. And so like just being in the environment, I learned how to like set up gear and like all the background stuff, and and
you do all the backline.
And then at school at the time I was learning how to play drums and like
nice.
And so that's kind of where the passion started, in high school, and then in the weekends, Mum would take me along to some gigs now and then, and I think my favorite memories are definitely like the family dues and like
the big
private,
gatherings.
Family, and then they all the because like music's been a big thing in my mum's side. My mum's family is very musical.
Cool.
And so like we'd have birthday parties and all the gear would be there. And, I'd be a little kid just go in there, have a jam, and like
nice.
They'd let me play and stuff. And then I think I realized that I had like a knack for it because drumming, like I was real young, but I was able to play pretty proficiently for my age.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of where I was like, wait, I could like really look at doing music. Getting into it.
I played drums when I was in high school as well, because I was a shit singer. I loved singing, but I was shit at it. But I loved drumming, and I loved being able to hold down a rhythm.
Yeah. Yep.
Create the groove that people can move to.
Yeah, make people's bodies move.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have any sort of interest in music before high school, or was it more you sort of hit high school, start doing some cool stuff, and then...
Yeah, I think definitely just growing up around music. You know, mum's always singing, and like at home, rehearsals, they'd come home, over home, like a lot of that time was I was surrounded by that from a young age.
Nice.
But I think it was like in the high school, I really wanted to like explore music, and be more like what's the word, just be expressive, like that's kind of where the passion for it came from.
And you kind of started on the drums?
Yep, started on the drums.
Right. Good foundation.
Yeah, and then so I was like getting bored of the drums after a while.
Well, your drummers are kind of tucked behind the other musicians, and there's a lot of drummers that secretly want to be frontmen. Or
exactly. And then I went to the bass guitar.
Oh yes. Again, rhythm orientated. Absolutely.
So just the rhythm backline was my thing. I really, really loved just different rhythms. I especially loved funk and learning how to like slap and stuff. Like that was like
who are your early funk influences?
I think there was I listened to a lot of Maxwell. Obviously like Earth, Wind and Fire and stuff.
I was going to say Sly and Family Stone, Earth, Wind and Fire.
And then like more modern stuff just started. There's a trio band which I really, really love, which maybe you might have heard of. They're called Dirty Loops. Have you heard of Dirty Loops?
I have not heard of Dirty Loops.
It's a three-piece band. They're 3 session musicians.
Okay, yep.
They studied together at this university in Sweden, and they came together, created this band, and their music is like fusion jazz funk. It's like incredible stuff. But the bass player for the band, his name is Hendrik. I forget his last name. Hendrik. He plays like this 6-string bass, and it's like the craziest thing. And I just used to just sit and watch him play like on YouTube. My last 2 years of high school. Yep. I was in a high school band, and we started getting into songwriting, and I started liking learning how to like structure songs and
the craft.
And then starting like actually like writing music, like writing lyrics. That was really like a cool thing, because I had a friend who was a really good singer, and she used to write all our songs in the band, right? But I got curious. I was like, how do you come up with this, just asking questions, and then eventually I got into that, and then outside of high school, like a few years later, then I really started to dive into it, and I just had like a laptop, and I just come home from work and just open it up, fresh canvas, just write whatever I was feeling, put a lot of all of my emotions, what I was feeling, like that was just my main outlet, right, was music. And I just make whatever I felt like at the time, and it would always just translate into something that I never expected, right?
Right, yeah.
And that was just always been my like creative flow. It's just like, it's very linear, like I start with one thing, and then it just gradually builds, and then just comes out into something, and it's like, whoa, I didn't expect
that. Yeah.
And so, and then like over the years, it just slowly condensed and refined, and then now I'm like, just making stuff that I like. 5 years ago, me would be like, what the, it's like that type of thing. Like it's just a constant evolution.
I mean, I'm the same. I look at lyrics from when I was in my 20s. And I go, wow, they were cheesy as shit. And for me, I always I was like a lot of artists. I was always like, it had to rhyme and stuff like that. And then when I was doing my band thing, I kind of realized, well, why do lyrics have to rhyme? I discovered Pearl. I'd always known of Pearl Jam. I'd been a huge fan, but I'd kind of rediscovered their lead singer, Eddie Vedder, and he traditionally doesn't write lyrics that rhyme. He will write a sentence that's descriptive and evokes certain emotions and memories, and you can kind of feel it in your head. Are you a rhymer or a freestyler? I'm probably going to get that wrong. Freestyler is probably not the right word. Andrew, I'm going to stare straight down the camera. Andrew, I apologise in advance for using the word freestyler, but carry on.
I'd say when I first started, it was definitely more free.
Yeah.
But now I've sort of come into a style where I start rhyming, but it's not like generic rhymes. Like I use words that sound like they're not like.
And you can kind of rhyme them via syllables. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Which like I'm not that proficient in like.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just
not
not
Eminem with Orange.
Yeah. So it's just like I'm just kind of like I'm very mindful with it. Just try and be more mindful with my message and stuff.
If I was to search your music, A, what am I looking for? And B, where am I looking for it?
Alright, so Innusta is my artist name.
Boy,
you love these names.
I've butchered half a dozen names in this podcast already.
Yeah, let's give you another one to butcher.
Thanks, man. Really
welcome,
appreciate
man. You're
this.
so welcome.
So how am I Innusta?
Yeah.
How am I spelling
Beautiful. I
Yes.
double N
Yes.
U S T A.
Where does it come from?
It's Estonian.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
It means inspire.
I wouldn't have guessed it with the letter I.
Or actually, there's like another word as well as encourage. But
like
same
both
kind
of
of
those.
thing.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Encourage, inspire. Yeah.
Yeah. I like a metal band called Meshuggah, and that's Hebrew for crazy person. So very cool. I kind of like those obscure things. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Innusta.
Yes.
I said it right twice. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time so I don't forget Innusta. Yeah, that's kind. Everyone, you guys just laugh at me. That's fine. Now, where do I find Innusta music?
Innusta music on pretty much every platform.
Even MySpace. That's pretty cool, man.
Actually, no.
It's interesting. Bebo.
Pretty much it. No. So I'm mostly active on Instagram.
Okay, right.
Which is at Innusta Music.
Yes.
And then I'd say like I upload the most onto SoundCloud after that.
Okay.
Like my music.
Yep.
Which is just Innusta.
Yep.
And then Spotify as well, Innusta. So pretty much Innusta on everything else except for Instagram, which is just Innusta Music. Okay.
Are you a member of our Instagram page, the Northland Artists Conversation one?
I think so.
Okay.
I think
If when we finish, just have a quick check. So if people want to find you and they go, man, what the hell was that,
dude?
Innuendo guy. They can at least source you through our friends. I'm guessing you can do that. Yeah. So Innusta. And how long have you been recording and sort of putting stuff? Producing.
So I'd say.
And will it go back to the early stuff?
Roughly 7 years.
Okay. Right.
Yep. So coming up will be about 8 years.
So that's going all the way back.
Yep. So that's when I first pretty much opened the computer and started making.
Cool.
Yep. About 8 years now. So
How, as an artist, would you say that you've grown and changed over the period of time? Can you look back at that early stuff objectively and go, well, I know exactly where I was at this point in time in my life. I it's not may not be of a comparable quality, but we all go through a growth, right? Yep. Can you look back at it objectively and go, for what it was, and like whatever limitations you had in terms of like hardware and all those sorts of things, can you look back at it objectively?
For sure. Yeah, it was like, I'd say at the time, like I feel like I've always been an artist who makes stuff that's just not like goes against the grain, right?
Okay. Yep.
So like, and that's, I guess that's like the main image that I want to, well, not image, but like, it's like authentic.
Yeah,
know?
sure.
So
sure.
that's like the vision that I've always had, is just like, you know, because the main drive for making the music that I do is because, you know, I've always been someone who's been like completely misunderstood, right?
Right. Yeah.
And all of that kind of energy I just put together, and then that's what I make my music. And so, like, you know, from the outside looking in, it's very like confusing because, you know, my personality is so like contrasty.
Right. Yeah.
That, you know, I love heavy music, heavy electronic music, but I also love the softer electronic music, and then I'm kind of bringing them together.
Mm. You say heavy electronic.
Heavy electronic.
Like what?
Yeah, like, you know, the dubsteps and the
right. Okay.
drum and bass, but like the real gritty stuff. You know.
I heard a genre called death step.
Ooh.
There's only one band. It was the singer for a band called Suicide Silence. Again, they're a deathcore band. They're pretty aggressive. They created a genre called death step, and I think the band is called The Commissioner or something like that.
Okay.
That's just on a whole other level. I mean, I thought Gabba and stuff like that, because Gabba's a form of, you know, fast dance music. It's like 180 something beats a minute, like it's just slamming. Okay, so you go from traditional drum and bass, which would be the likes of
we're talking like well, actually more modern drum and bass is my thing though, because I wasn't really someone who like, I'd say I got into drum and bass a little bit later.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a later discovery.
Yeah. So kind of like, and like the more traditional stuff, I didn't really. I mean, to be honest, I don't really like it that much.
Okay.
I only prefer to listen to more of the, like, I guess, innovative sound.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Just anything that's different than what everyone else makes.
Something like yourself. A little bit outside of the norm.
Yeah. Just goes against the grain. It's like,
absolutely.
You know, everyone's
like,
doing this, but I like
normal.
what's over there.
I'm way off out here.
I don't deal with that.
Yeah, cool.
Like,
okay.
Oh, you guys are cool down there, you know.
Yeah. Stick with your 4/4 times and your
exactly.
and your verse chorus verse structure.
Yeah. For real. Yeah. So that's kind of like but there's a couple artists that I really like. One guy, his name is Amanu, which is he's like pretty new.
Okay.
Fresh artist.
Yep.
And he just released a new album like a week ago, and it explores a whole lot of other genres, like not just drum and bass, but he's traditionally a drum and bass artist.
Right.
He started making the same genre and then kind of burst out and
discovered some other things, and just kind of went
inspired.
off.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like I feel like my style is I'm just open. Like I'm out there.
So you've just been open right from the word go.
Yeah. And so when people like come across my music, it's like, oh, this song's like really chill, and you play the next song and it's like, whoa, this is like heavy and like you know, energy. And then the next song's like, oh, this is like laid back. You know? So it's like, and then I'm just you know, just doing me, just putting out what I want, you know, like not restricting myself.
Nowadays, do you put albums out, or is it just like an individual songs?
Yeah, well, that's another big topic. I think just growing as an electronic artist, like the world of electronic is so like it's so open. It's like when you think about like Marvel and the multiverse, it's kind of like that.
Oh yeah,
it's super just. There's a niche for everything. Anything you can think of, someone's making it, you know. And so it's incredibly difficult to like get, you know, really make a difference.
Right.
And that's why I guess a lot of artists, they would just, you know, they find it more comfortable to just make what other people are making and just keep
stick
to one thing, because that's the fastest way you're going to grow to where you want, you know.
from point A to point B, where the money is you just got to get there as quick as possible. And that's what a lot of artists do.
And that's what pretty much everyone is doing, right? Whereas like someone like me, I'm just like, I've always been an observer. Always just watch what the trends are, I watch what they do, but I never like partake of it because I'm like, nah, I just want to do my own thing. Like I want to create my own,
And if you're very much feelings based and very vibe orientated, you might have something over here where it's like, oh, that's super interesting and nice. I'm kind of not feeling that, so I'm going to do something over here which is really obscure and different. Well, there you go, everyone. Week 4, done and dusted. Man, this is cool. We got one more episode to go, and I'm super excited about this one. But hey, look, thank you so much for choosing to just have a look at these things. As a former musician myself, New Zealand Music Month was really, really beneficial in terms of putting New Zealand music in a profile, in a spotlight. I won't say it did much for me. And the reason I can say that is because, I did Cookie Monster vocals over some really low rumbly guitars. But there was a whole bunch of other guests that really benefited from it. Funny story, we actually had a show booked in Palmerston North for the 1st of May, and New Zealand Music Month just paid for the whole show, and anyone could come, and it was free, and we had an amazing night. I think we all got to sleep at about 6 in the morning. And then 2 hours later, we were out of the, was it bed and breakfast? No, out of the backpackers and drove back to Auckland. Good times. There was a lot of Red Bull consumed on the way back. I'm going to go to my camera now. Look, thank you so much for supporting these. These are something really, really cool. It was a great suggestion by one of our former guests, so thank you so much. You can find us on the visuals, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all Northland Artists Conversation. For the audio, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Podcasts. Again, Northland Artists Conversation, or simply open up a web browser, whichever one, doesn't really matter. Most popular one, I think, is Chrome. Possibly. And just type in Northland Artists Conversation, you'll find us. Pick us the way that you consume your music, and go from there. Happy times. And if you're an artist that would love to come on and sit down and shoot the shit, or we can even do it remotely as well, if you live sort of further up north, or you're a former artist that's been on, man, we'd love to have you back on, especially, a lot of artists are kind of always working through their thing. So, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us on our email, hello@northlandartistconversation.co.nz, or simply message us through our socials. I guarantee you someone's going to get back to you. So thanks very much. Going back to my wide, I think this is the 3rd time I've said this now, but the support for all of these New Zealand musicians or Northland musicians has been really overwhelmingly positive. So thank you guys so much for just checking all this out. Hopefully this might inspire you to find a new artist or to go, yeah, you know what, this is kind of cool. Wouldn't mind checking them out. So on behalf of myself, Editor Lee J, Producer Andrew, Engineer Steve, my name is Mark Kelly. I'm your host for Northland Artists Conversation. Thank you very much for joining us in week 4 of New Zealand Music Month's 25th anniversary celebrations. We will see you guys real soon.